When you start thinking seriously about uh, securing your financial future, especially as retirement gets closer, well, putting some savings into precious metals often comes up. It feels pretty traditional, almost timeless, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And, especially when the usual markets feel a bit shaky or, frankly, unpredictable, having something tangible like gold or silver, historically, that's offered a different kind of stability.
Totally. And for a lot of folks, the practical way to actually hold physical metals in a retirement plan is through this called a precious metals IRA. But okay, once you decide that's the route, the really big question becomes, who do you actually trust to help you set that up and manage it?
Exactly right. Choosing the right provider. That's it's absolutely crucial. Their reliability, how transparent they are, the support they offer, it can really make or break the experience.
Which is perfect timing because today we're doing a deep dive specifically into precious metals IRAs. And we're going to zero in on two companies that, well, they seem to pop up constantly in this space: Augusta Precious Metals and Advantage Gold.
hmm And we're really focusing our lens today on a detailed comparison that was written by Doug Young. He's an expert who's really looked into financial investing, particularly precious metals. We're going to pull out the core findings directly from his analysis, the material you shared with us.
Yeah, our goal here is simple: to give you the most important takeaways from this comparison. We're talking key features, the main differences, what really makes each company unique. So you walk away with a much clearer picture of what might influence your decision if you're thinking about adding physical precious metals to, beef up that retirement portfolio. Okay, let's unpack this.
So maybe first things first, let's just clarify what a precious metals IRA actually is based on what Doug Young lays out. Fundamentally, it's a special kind of self-directed IRA.
Self-directed meaning you choose the investments, not a standard brokerage account.
Exactly. And the key difference here, compared to a regular IRA, is instead of holding, say, stocks or bonds, paper assets, it holds actual physical gold, silver, platinum, and palladium.
And the tax side of things is pretty familiar, right? You get basically the same potential benefits as a traditional IRA, like pre-tax contributions potentially and tax-deferred growth. The real distinction is the asset itself.
Right. And Doug Young's analysis really emphasizes why people even look at gold and silver specifically. I mean, they've been seen as a store of value for literally thousands of years. It's not just some historical quirk. It's about diversification.
Ah, diversification. So the idea is they often behave differently from stocks and bonds, maybe move inversely sometimes.
And that's a big part of the appeal. So if your stock portfolio hits a rough patch, your precious metals might be doing something different, potentially offering some balance, maybe a hedge against losses.
Plus, they're tangible. You can picture holding the actual coin or bar, which feels different from just owning a line item on a statement.
hmm
And they're finite resources, right? Which historically helps them hold value.
Precisely. So the core takeaway here, as Doug Young's piece really highlights, is that including these kinds of assets could offer some stability to your overall portfolio, especially when the broader economy feels a bit uncertain.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's dive into the companies themselves, starting with Augusta Precious Metals. What does the analysis say about them?
Well, Doug Young's comparison notes they got started back in 2012, and they've really built up a reputation over that time for being trustworthy, reliable, and having a really strong focus on transparency and, importantly, customer education.
And his analysis points out some pretty serious industry recognition they've gotten, like Best Overall Gold IRA Company from Money Magazine, not just once, but for 2023 and 2024.
Right, and also most transparent pricing from Investopedia, again for both 2023 and 2024, plus being named Best of by TrustLink for 6 years running.
Wow, okay. Getting that kind of consistent praise from different respected sources, that usually says something.
It suggests their commitment to doing things right, to compliance, is pretty serious. Doug Young's review points out they actually have a dedicated in-house compliance section. It's led by an independent third party, and they even do regular voluntary third-party inspections.
That sounds like a serious commitment to operating, above board.
It does, and they also offer some guarantees that really stood out in the analysis, sort of peace of mind things.
Oh yeah, like what?
Well, there's a 7-day money-back guarantee, no questions asked if you sign up and then have second thoughts right away. Then there's a 100% satisfaction guarantee, which is aimed at making it seamless to switch providers if you're not happy later on.
Okay.
And finally, a highest buyback guarantee if you eventually decide you want to sell your metals back to them.
Interesting. So what can you actually put in an Augusta IRA? What metals do they offer?
According to Doug Young's write-up, they offer a range of IRS-approved bullion coins and bars, gold and silver primarily. They also have premium coins available. And platinum and palladium products can be sourced upon request. The absolute key, though, is that everything meets those strict IRS standards for purity and type. You can't just put any old coin in there.
Right. Got to meet the IRA rules. What about the customer experience? The analysis seemed to emphasize that.
It did. Doug Young highlights that you get a personal agent assigned to you. This person guides you through the entire thing from setting up the account, funding it, all the way through to providing lifetime account support. Plus, they apparently have a wealth of educational resources.
Lifetime support is pretty significant.
And here's something Doug Young's analysis flags as quite unique to Augusta. They offer free one-on-one web conferences with their Director of Education, Devlin Steele.
Oh, the Harvard-trained economist.
That's the one. This is a pretty specialized educational opportunity, and it's available for prospective clients who meet their minimum criteria, which is $100,000 in savings. It's described as a deep dive into the economy and how precious metals fit in, specifically for people considering becoming clients. That's pretty unusual.
Yeah, that's definitely not standard. Okay, what about the costs? Fees are always a big question.
Right. The analysis explains Augusta's structure involves a one-time setup fee. Then there's an annual custodian fee that's paid to the third-party company actually holding the metals, not Augusta directly, and then storage fees paid to the secure depository vault.
And Doug Young notes they emphasize having no hidden fees.
That's a key point in his review, yes. Transparency on costs.
Okay, so if you had to boil down the pros and cons for Augusta based purely on Doug Young's analysis.
Okay, so on the plus side, he points to that strong focus on education and transparency, the consistent industry awards, that deep commitment to compliance, and this is a big one. Their unique record of 0 complaints ever filed against them at both the Better Business Bureau, BBB, and the Business Consumer Alliance, BCA.
0 ever. That's quite a claim.
It's what the analysis highlights as a major differentiator. Also on the pro side, the personalized, dedicated service and those peace of mind guarantees we mentioned.
Okay. And the potential downsides noted in the review.
The main ones mentioned are the minimum investment requirement, which is $50,000. That might put it out of reach for some people. And while their fees are presented as transparent, the review suggests they might not be the absolute rock bottom lowest compared to every single competitor out there.
Got it. Okay, so that's Augusta. Now let's switch gears and look at Advantage Gold.
Yeah.
What does Doug Young's comparison say about them?
So Advantage Gold, established in 2014, so a bit younger than Augusta. The analysis highlights their strong focus is really on helping first-time gold and silver investors. They use a very educational approach, trying to make the whole process less intimidating.
So geared towards newcomers, maybe?
Now, that seems to be a core part of their identity, according to the review. They're also recognized by consumer protection agencies and have high customer ratings themselves.
Okay. And what about the metals they offer for IRAs?
Advantage Gold offers gold coins and bars, silver bullion, and Doug Young notes they specifically leverage the strong industrial demand for silver as part of their pitch, and they also provide platinum and palladium options. Everything, of course, has to meet those IRS compliance standards for purity.
And like Augusta, education and support is a big thing for them too, especially for those newbies.
Yes, that's emphasized in the analysis. They provide personalized guidance, really walking clients through the complexities of setting up their first precious metals IRA. The review suggests this is particularly valuable for people who might feel a bit overwhelmed by the whole thing.
Makes sense. What about their cost structure? How does that compare?
According to the analysis, it's also presented as transparent. They feature a flat annual fee for account maintenance, plus the storage fees, and aim for competitive pricing on the metals themselves. Again, the emphasis, like with Augusta, is on avoiding nasty surprises when it comes to costs.
And does the review touch on how they handle the whole risk versus reward conversation around precious metals?
It does. Doug Young notes they acknowledge the risks. Market volatility, price fluctuations are always possible with any investment, but they balance this by highlighting the potential long-term stability and diversification benefits we talked about earlier. Their educational materials are apparently designed to help investors weigh those factors thoughtfully.
Okay, so summing up the pros and cons for Advantage Gold, based on Doug Young's perspective in the review.
Pros would include those extensive educational resources, which are seen as particularly valuable for new investors, their transparent fee structure, and that personalized service approach.
And the cons mentioned.
The main ones noted are being younger companies, so they have a shorter track record compared to some of the industry veterans like Augusta. And while they do offer platinum and palladium, their primary focus seems to be more heavily weighted towards gold and silver, which might feel slightly less comprehensive to some investors compared to Augusta's described offerings.
Right. Okay, let's maybe put them side by side for a moment. Based on the comparison points Doug Young pulls together, reputation seems like a key one.
Definitely. Augusta comes across in his review as very established, strong emphasis on compliance, those multiple significant awards, and crucially, that record of 0 complaints ever at the BBB and BCA.
Whereas Advantage Gold, while younger, also has high ratings. And the review notes they have 0 complaints in the last 3 years at the BBB and BCA, and they focus on being approachable for newcomers.
Right. That difference in the time frame for the complaint history, 0 ever versus 0 in the last 3 years, is a specific distinction Doug Young highlights.
Okay. Product offerings.
Augusta seems noted as having a slightly more diverse standard offering, plus the platinum palladium readily available on request. Advantage Gold's primary focus is described as more squarely on gold and silver, although they do offer the others too.
Gotcha. Customer service sounds strong for both, but maybe different flavors.
Yeah, both seem to have personalized approaches. But Augusta's unique points in the review are that free webinar with the Harvard-trained economist and the lifetime dedicated agent support. Combine that with the 0 complaints ever record. Well, Doug Young's assessment gives them a particular edge there in service quality.
But Advantage Gold's strength, as noted, is really in that detailed education, especially if you're just starting out in precious metals.
Exactly. That's their niche, according to the review.
Fees, both transparent, which is good, but structured differently.
That's right. Augusta, setup fee plus annual fees. Advantage Gold, flat annual fee structure. Both aim for competitive metal pricing. So the total cost might vary depending on your specific situation and investment amount.
And ratings both top-notch.
Yeah, uniformly high according to the review. Both have the highest possible A+ AAA ratings from the BBB and BCA, and both boast 5-star ratings on TrustLink. That tells you that, generally speaking, customers of both companies report high levels of satisfaction.
Okay, so if someone listening is thinking, all right, I'm interested, what are the practical steps involved in actually getting started with either company, according to Doug Young's guide? Is the process similar?
It seems quite similar for both, based on the description.
Okay, step 1.
First, you choose the company you feel is the best fit for you, Augusta or Advantage Gold, and they help you actually establish the precious metals IRA account paperwork.
Right. And then step 2 involves the custodian.
Yes, the custodian. Think of them as the official IRS-approved financial institution that legally holds your metals for you. They don't sell you the metals, they just custody them. And they keep them safe in a super secure government-approved vault, which is called a depository.
Okay, so the metals aren't stored at Augusta's or Advantage Gold's office.
No. Doug Young's analysis notes that both companies work with several well-respected independent custodians and depositories. They'll guide you in choosing one that works for you. And that depository is where your physical metal is stored, secure, insured, IRS approved. Often you have options for segregated storage too.
Segregated meaning your specific coins and bars are kept separate, not commingled with others.
Exactly. Some people prefer that.
Okay. Then step 3 is paperwork.
Yep, completing all the necessary forms. And your chosen company, whether Augusta or Advantage Gold, guides you through all of that to make sure everything's dotted and crossed for IRS compliance.
And finally, step 4, funding the account. How does that work?
A few ways, as Doug Young's review confirms. You can do a direct transfer from an existing IRA account. You can execute a rollover from an old 401k or maybe a 403b or TSP account. Both companies apparently specialize in helping with these rollovers, which can be tricky. Or you can just make a fresh contribution, subject to annual IRA limits.
Okay. And does Doug Young offer any best practices around funding?
He does. He suggests you really consider carefully how much of your total retirement portfolio you want to allocate to precious metals. The idea usually isn't to go all in, it's about finding a balanced approach for diversification.
So don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Pretty much. He also recommends potentially talking with your own independent financial advisor to see how adding precious metals fits into your broader financial picture and goals.
Makes sense. And then when it comes to actually picking the metals to buy for your IRA,
Yeah, Doug Young advises focusing specifically on those IRS-approved options. These are generally coins and bars known for their purity, liquidity, and potential for growth. His piece lists common examples. American Eagle coins, gold, silver, platinum, Canadian maple leafs, gold, silver, platinum, palladium, Australian kangaroos or nuggets, and certain bars that meet really strict fineness standards.
Like 99.5% pure for gold, 99.9% for silver, platinum, palladium, something like that.
Exactly those standards, with a slight exception for gold American Eagles, which are 22 karat but still allowed due to specific legislation. But yeah, your provider, whether Augusta or Advantage Gold, will have a clear list of exactly what qualifies for an IRA.
Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground here, looking at both companies through the lens of Doug Young's analysis. Given all these comparison points, what was his ultimate conclusion? Did he lean one way or the other?
He did. His final assessment, stated directly in the analysis, is that Augusta Precious Metals edges out Advantage Gold as his preferred choice.
Okay. And the specific reasons he gave for that conclusion in his write-up.
They really tie back directly to the points we've been discussing. He cites Augusta's exceptional commitment to compliance and transparency, the strength and reassurance of those peace of mind guarantees, the depth of their educational resources, including that unique webinar opportunity with Devlin Steele.
Right, the personalized service with a dedicated agent.
Yeah, exactly. And that unparalleled track record, the zero complaints ever at the BBB and BCA, that seems to have weighed heavily. Plus their numerous industry accreditations and just their overall established reputation for excellence. He essentially sees their comprehensive approach, combined with that spotless complaint history, as particularly compelling factors that give them the edge in his view.
Interesting. Okay, so to kind of wrap this up, we've really taken a deep dive into the material you provided, specifically Doug Young's detailed comparison of Augusta Precious Metals and Advantage Gold for setting up a precious metals IRA. We've tried to unpack their reputations, what they offer, their service models, how they handle fees, and even the practical steps for getting started, all based on his analysis.
hmm And hopefully exploring all these details from the comparison has given you, the listener, some really clear insights into what these two specific companies bring to the table. And it should highlight the key factors you'd want to weigh if you're seriously considering adding physical precious metals to your retirement strategy. Understanding these specific differences, the nuances, that's really important for making an informed choice that feels right for your priorities. So the question becomes, what does all this mean for you?
Yeah, and Doug Young's piece, just by focusing so much on the tangibility of precious metals compared to, say, stocks or digital assets, it kind of invites a broader thought, doesn't it?
It does. Maybe think about this for a moment. In a world that feels increasingly digital, maybe even a bit uncertain at times, how does that fundamental difference between holding a physical store of value, something you could theoretically touch, versus owning a purely digital representation of value?
Yeah.
How does that factor into your own long-term vision for what financial security and, frankly, peace of mind really look like? It definitely raises an important question for you to consider.